Hello, Michael here, and today we're going to have a bit of a look at a Hybrex telephone system. This one here has been pulled out of a customer's premises. I suspect it's been hit by lightning. I noticed that there's a burnt track down here. The customer just said that they come into work one morning and they could smell smoke. And the phone system wasn't working. So I've replaced their phone system with a brand new one. Pulled this one out, destined to go to the scrap heap, but we could probably salvage some parts. We've got the ring generator here, we've got the power supply here, and we've got the 4-port trunk card there. That's just plain old telephone service or PSTN services. The motherboard itself is probably junk, but I thought, well, for shits and giggles, let's just power it up and see what happens. Probably absolutely nothing's going to happen, but let's give it a go. So I've plugged in a test phone just here. Let's see if anything happens. Here we go. Yeah, she's smoking. So the smoke's coming down from underneath here somewhere. So let's pull it apart and see, or let's try and diagnose where the fault is. Could be one of these caps over here, because I suspect this cap here is a filtering cap that's on the 70-volt line. So. Whew, that stinks. So this is the track here. So right there. It's 70 volts. Track's all burnt out along here. This is where it was smoking, right underneath this connector here. I don't think this capacitor, it looks like a capacitor, is connected to it. But if you follow the track, there's a via here, so we'll just swap over the other side. And there's a burnt bit of track here, which leads to this capacitor on the other side. Okay, so if we remove this capacitor just here, and I've checked over here, we've got a dead short that way, and we've also got a dead short that way. We're in diode mode, and there's a diode here. So I suspect this diode is shorted. We'll remove it and see if it fixes it. Alright, so I thought it was a diode, but it's not a diode. The diode's in series with the capacitor and the resistor there. So I suspected the diode was in parallel to give it reverse protection, but it's not. So I've pulled the diode off, I tested that, put it back on, put the capacitor back on, and what I actually found was the actual two tracks here were shorting out. So I've got a drill bit and I've drilled those two tracks out, and it's now working. I also found that the ring generator, which just sits here, this is the ring generators for the analog phones, to make the analog phones ring. Where is the? I can't find it now. Where have I got it? Here. So it's a ring generator there. When the ring generator is plugged in, it actually causes the track here to arc. It's arcing along, all the way along this track. So I've pulled the ring generator out, which operates at about 90 volts, and that's a 70 volt. If you can see, that's a 70 volt rail. So something's not right with the 70 volt rail. But anyway, this board was just going to be thrown out, but I've managed to get it going. So I've drilled those two holes out. Okay, and it's now working. Should power up. There we go. Okay, so we'll ring it. It's ringing fine. Answer it. Hello. Bit of feedback. Hello. Test 1 2 1 2. So that's line 2. I've checked line 3 and line 1. So this is line 3. Yep. Okay, so I've actually even gone into the firmware and updated the firmware. It was firmware version E52W. I've now loaded up firmware version E63B. I've plugged a voicemail box VMC card in to check that that works. And actually, I'll show you that does work. We'll plug that back in. Okay, voicemail box card is in. So the voicemail box should answer the call because I've programmed it to do that, just to test it. Let's wait for this to boot up. Voicemail box card is flashing, the VMC card is flashing, so we've got a heartbeat there. We've also got a heartbeat there, so that's a good sign. Alright, let's ring that. I've just put a dummy message in there.
Thank you for calling. Currently our receptionist is busy. You can leave a message after the tone. Thank you.
So the voicemail box is now taking the call, and I am leaving a message in the voicemail box for the user to come and listen to. So we'll end that call. Call finishes. And we now have a voicemail message. We can now click on that.
Please enter your password. You have one new message. The message was recorded on May 29th at 3:25 p.m.
The voicemail box is now taking the call.
So we end
That message has been deleted. You have no new messages. Press 2. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
and in night mode. So in night mode it will take the call straight away, so let's do that.
Our office is closed. Our office hours are from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Please call back during these times, or you can leave a message after the tone.
And so we can now leave a message which will be in the night message mailbox. Thank you very much, we'll hang that up. And so now our call will end and we now have a message in the mailbox again. So when our user comes to work in the morning and they can see they've got a message, take it out of night mode. And you've got a message on the mailbox 42 in this case, so we can just press the message
Please
button.
enter your password. You have one new message.
So we can go one new message.
Recorded on May 29th at 3:27 p.m.
And so we can now leave a message which will be in the night message mailbox.
That message has been deleted. Please press the hash. You have no new message. Thank you for calling.
So I've tested this thing thoroughly. I've programmed it up to do all sorts of different things. I've programmed it up with ACD, I've programmed it up with DISA, and all the functions are working fine, all the trunk lines are working fine. The only thing that's not working, it doesn't seem to be working, is the ring generator. The ring generator causes the arcing on this track here. I actually haven't tested the analog outputs from the card or from the system, but I mean, no one uses the analog units unless they've got like a cordless phone or a fax or something like that hanging off that. Yeah, well, this thing seems to be working, but I suspect it's been struck by a lightning strike down the track, and it's suffered some damage across these pins here. So when I removed this header and I drilled out those two pins there, because it was shorting out and smoking and carrying on there, when I drilled out those two pins there, it's now working. So just for a bit of a play with, I managed to get it going again. But anyway, this thing's not going to be ever used for anyone, because I just can't use it as even as parts. It's just not reliable. I mean, even though it's working, I just can't rely on it to be.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.